Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney. It's Wednesday, September 16th. I've got your top headlines for you from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Thank you for choosing to be here to get filled in on what's happening here in Northeast Ohio. We start today by saying goodbye to Cleveland officer Nicholas Sabo. Funeral services were held this morning for Officer Sabo at 11 a.m. inside the Holy Name Church in Cleveland. Now, these were private services. Sabo, who was a 7-year veteran of the police force here in Cleveland, died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. That happened just after Cleveland detective James Skirnovitz was shot and killed while working undercover earlier that night. Sabo's sister Christy told Rachel Polanski that over the phone he was crying very hard that night, and he said to her, "I can't go to another funeral. I just can't. This job is so hard." And that ended in tragedy for Sabo and his family and the police force here in Cleveland. Sabo was 39. He grew up in Bay Village and worked as a police officer in Columbus before joining the Cleveland Police Department here in 2013. If you are in need of assistance, you can call for help at the Cuyahoga County 24/7 Suicide Prevention Call Center. That phone number is 216-623-6888. You can also reach out to the National Suicide Prevention Line. That is 1-800-273-8255. Now we turn to some shocking news, and the story here is just as much about the hiding of this report as it is what is in the report. There was a consultant report that is highly critical of Cleveland public power, and that was uncovered by our investigative team and 3 News' Mark Naymik. This is an 80-page document that was put together by a consultant who was hired by the city, and Mayor Frank Jackson's administration refused to share that document with the Cleveland City Council. This consultant's review is at the center of recent utility hearings about the future of Cleveland public power. The report says that Cleveland public power is in a terrible condition and might have to raise rates, which, according to the report, are already higher than competitors in order to survive. Now, this report was finished in May of 2019, so over a year and a half ago, and our Cleveland City Council could not get a copy of this document. Now, that's a problem for a group that is supposed to be making sure things are running properly at the utility company and also in the Jackson administration. So 3 News investigative team exposed the existence of this report last month, and the council has been asking for it ever since. So our I-team went and got it, and now it's published on WKYC.com and in our WKYC app, and you can see the entire document, all 80 pages of it, for yourself. When asked about not sharing it, Jackson's administration said the report was an incomplete briefing, that it included trade secrets and recommendations that were not fully vetted or embraced by Cleveland public power. And because of those reasons, the administration says it didn't have to share the document, not even with City Council. Now, while still refusing to share the report, Robert Davis, who is the director of the Department of Utilities, did acknowledge that Cleveland public power is at a, quote, crossroads, and the next 2 years are very, very critical. Now, just to give you an idea of how impactful this is for the Northeast Ohio area, Cleveland Public Power has around 70,000 customers. That's a lot of people, and many of those customers already pay higher rates for electricity than the rates charged by competitors. That's according to the document. Now, the city denies that this report was commissioned to study possible rates, but in a letter to prospective consultants, the city did ask for a plan on how to sell a power rate increase to the council and to the public. And the document does recommend significant rate increases phased out over 3 different phases. On Tuesday, the city of Cleveland told 3 News that Cleveland Public Power has experienced, quote, significant positive changes in leadership over the past year, and, quote, there has been clear direction that the new way of doing business must be transparent, fluid, and inclusive. So that's the latest from the city on Cleveland Public Power. Now, let's turn to something that just happened this morning that many people are very excited about here in Northeast Ohio and our surrounding areas. The Big Ten has voted for fall sports to come back in October. Big Ten plans for its season to begin the weekend of October 23rd and 24th. So here's how that will play out. Each team will play 8 games, we're talking about football now, in 8 weeks. And the conference championship game will be held December 19th. That's if everything goes well and there aren't any triggers that, of course, cause a shutdown or anything like that, because, of course, those protocols will be in place. Now, if all goes well, that should give the Big Ten an opportunity to compete for the national championship. That's something a lot of people were worried about because other conferences are already underway. Also, daily coronavirus testing will be a thing for student athletes, coaches, trainers, and other people who are on the field for all practices and games. Yes, they will be doing daily testing. The conference also said that there are significant medical protocols, including enhanced cardiac screening, which is something that we heard about recently, how individuals who work at an elevated rate, who exercise at an elevated rate, are particularly susceptible should they develop COVID-19 to a heart issue that particularly targets athletes. So that's something that was definitely a sticking point there. Now, Dr. Jim Borchers, who is the head team physician for The Ohio State University and also co-chair of the Return to Competition Task Force Medical Subcommittee, said, "Everyone associated with the Big Ten should be very proud of the groundbreaking steps that are now being taken to better protect the health and safety of the student athletes and surrounding communities." The Big Ten said its Council of Presidents and Chancellors voted unanimously to restart sports. That vote was yesterday, so we're getting the official word on it today. The vote last month was 11-3 to postpone, and the schools that voted against postponing were The Ohio State University, Iowa, and Nebraska. So as you can imagine, the players are very excited. Everyone is tweeting about it. There are memes all over the place. Players, coaches, family, friends. Big day of excitement for the Big Ten as they now have a date where they can start competing again. That will be the weekend of October 23rd and 24th. Moving on to national news that has touched all of us around the country. There has been a settlement reached in the police killing of Breonna Taylor in Louisville, Kentucky. The city of Louisville has settled with the family for $12 million. Now, to remind you, Breonna Taylor was a 26-year-old ER technician. She was shot and killed during a police raid at her apartment over 6 months ago. Now, this is the largest settlement paid by the city for a police misconduct case, but it's not just about money. There are also reforms to the Louisville Metro Police Department that were a major part of this agreement. The family's attorney, Lenita Baker, said that a financial settlement was non-negotiable without police reform. So some of the reforms that are included in this settlement include increased drug and alcohol testing for officers who are involved in shootings, early action warning strategies to identify red flags and officers using excessive force, and also commanders must approve all search warrants before they go to a judge. There's definitely been some conversation about the information that was submitted to a judge in order to get that no-knock warrant that was used in the Breonna Taylor case, where police busted into the home without knocking, without announcing that they were police, resulting in the death of Breonna Taylor. Now, since her killing, one officer has been fired and several others have been placed on leave, but people are saying this is still not enough. Tamika Mallory, the co-founder of the activist group Until Freedom, said, yes, a settlement is restitution, but it's not arresting the cops. And that is something that people continue to call for when they are seeking justice for the death of Breonna Taylor. Something else that is impacting us all at the national level. Lots of people are very frustrated over the fact that Congress has still not been able to come up with an additional stimulus package, an additional rescue package related to COVID-19, when so many of the benefits from that first package have already expired. Well, we're learning today that Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi has told Democrats on a morning conference call that they have to stay in session until they have a bill, until they have a new stimulus bill. This is according to a Democratic aide. This Democratic aide spoke anonymously with the press because they were not authorized to quote what Nancy Pelosi said on that call. Now, what this means, what does this mean that they will stay in session until they have a bill? There are things that are called state work periods. This is when we refer to Congress going on recess or not being in Washington, D.C. So there's two that are scheduled to come up, September 28th and 29th, and then also October 12th through November 6th. So the end of September and then the entire last half of October through the election, Congress is scheduled to be in a state work period, meaning not in Washington, D.C. Well, according to Nancy Pelosi, members of the House of Representatives are not going anywhere until they figure out this thing. So the latest deal that has been rejected was a $1.5 trillion rescue package. This is something that was put together by a bipartisan group of 50 members of Congress. They're called the Problem Solvers Caucus. It's half Democrat, half Republican. This package did include another $1,200 stimulus check, and it did include another $600 weekly unemployment boost for people, but it was rejected by leadership in the House, by Democratic leadership. The leadership said it simply did not address enough of the needs that need to be met, although it did include many elements of the previous rescue packages that went nowhere. The version that passed the Senate, the version that passed the House, some of these things include aiding for schools, funding for state and local governments, and renewal of the COVID-19 jobless benefits. As I said, that $600 weekly boost. So according to Nancy Pelosi, members of the House are not going anywhere until they iron that out. Now let's take a look at what the state of Ohio is thinking when it comes to Halloween. That's coming up here pretty quickly, about 6 weeks away. And Governor Mike DeWine has said that he will give some guidance on the holiday sometime in the future. He didn't say exactly when that would be, but some areas within Northeast Ohio are already looking at what they plan to do. So a lot of places are saying that trick-or-treating and Halloween activities are an opt-in, do as you will of your own accord to your own comfort level situation. So that's something that is expected to continue to happen in some communities around here. In North Canton, for example, the mayor said that Halloween will still take place on Saturday, October 31st from 3 to 5 p.m. The city of Akron is also moving forward with trick-or-treating on Halloween from 6 to 7:30. And these will be opt-in activities. Nobody is required to pass out candy. Nobody is required to go door-to-door trick-or-treating if they don't want to. These are what some of these cities are saying. However, some other places, they're saying we are not going to have any formally sanctioned events, like the city of Fairlawn, who said there will not be a citywide trick-or-treating this year because of COVID-19. And in Copley Township, they also will not have a sponsored trick-or-treating event, and they will just let individual neighborhoods decide what they would like to do, if they would like to do something on their own. So we'll be following that, and of course, as soon as we get that official guidance from Governor Mike DeWine, we will share that with you. That's it for your 3 News Now early update for Wednesday, September 16th. I'll see you back here at 3 p.m. when we get the latest numbers in from the Ohio Department of Health and the rest of the headlines that are topping WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Everyone enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Stay safe and be well. I'm Stephanie Haney.